What's up, everyone, and welcome to the weekly Q&A. For our first question, Oncoming Storm 7 asks, what upcoming 2022 Star Wars project are we most excited about?
It's Kenobi for me, for sure. I mean, partially just because it's the next thing, and it's hard to focus on anything else, but even before Book of Boba Fett, I was like, I'm excited for Boba Fett, but Kenobi is kind of the big thing.
Boring answers, I guess, but same. Yeah, Kenobi is just, it's one of those things that we've been looking forward to a really long time, and I think it's going to get all levels of fans excited because it's Kenobi, it's Ewan McGregor, we're getting Hayden back, so it's a big deal.
Yeah, it was something that people wanted. The second Disney made that announcement that they were buying Star Wars, everyone was like, Ewan? Can we get more Ewan? And then, of course, the rumors for years and years where everyone kept asking him if he was playing the character again. He's like, I'm just waiting for the call. And everyone's like, we know. Just say it. So it feels like this big build up to something that we have wanted to see for so long. I'm still excited for everything else. I think Andor is going to be a surprise, or at least I hope. Just the fact that it's going to be this different kind of spy thriller. I'm excited to revisit that sort of genre in Star Wars. I enjoyed the Bad Batch Season 1, so I want to see more of that. And of course, The Mandalorian, I'm assuming that comes out this year as well, which I think it's supposed to. We all got so hyped over the Mandalorian episodes in the Book of Boba Fett, and I want to see what happens there. But, Kenobi is where it's at right now for me.
Joseph Mazakis wants to know what the end game is for a character like Grogu. To be in my arms.
Yeah. Joseph is kind of talking about what's going to happen after The Mandalorian. Is Grogu going to be post-sequel content story? Like, is he planting seeds for stuff to happen hundreds of years down the line? And I definitely think that's possible. We've talked about Grogu being potentially like the new Ahsoka, where he's going to live forever. He could pop up at any time. Like, he's going to live for 1,000 years-ish. So, maybe. But I don't think any of that is in mind right now. Yeah. I don't think Jon Favreau made this character thinking of how it'll affect the future timeline of Star Wars. I think he's just made a character for his story.
Mm-hmm. I mean, when you get right down to it, Grogu is popular because he's small and cute and adorable. And will people still... I know I will, but will people still like him so much when he's older and looks a little bit more like Yoda?
Elderly Grogu. Yeah. Instead of baby Yoda, he's elder Grogu.
But so to the mass population, he wouldn't be as marketable, not quite as cute, but there's a lot of potential for his story down the line because I assume he's going to spend the rest of Din's life with him.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. I mean, he left Luke, so he's like, I'm in it till the end, man.
Yeah, he chose Din.
But I'm excited to see how he helps Din going forward with Din's journey. Is he going to be a tiny Mandalorian foundling?
Right. As far as his end game, I think it's mostly right now in Favreau's mind for this series. I don't think there's any end game beyond that Favreau and Filoni are thinking about. It's just how do we tell the best story right now? Lucas didn't even create Darth Vader as Luke's father. Lucas made Darth Vader as a villain in this story right now. And then an end game evolved within that trilogy. And of course, Darth Vader's role has grown and grown, or same with someone like Darth Maul, where he was just meant to be a cool, scary villain in The Phantom Menace. He wasn't meant to come back in the Clone Wars. Mm-hmm. But when the story called for it, it's let's do it. So I don't think there is an actual end game for Grogu beyond The Mandalorian right now.
Aaron Young asks if we'll ever see Tamira Morrison in the spotlight of Star Wars again.
Specifically in live action, was the Book of Boba Fett kind of Boba Fett's, not swan song, but his last big story?
Is this assuming we are or aren't getting a season 2 of Boba Fett?
I don't know, either way.
Because I get the feeling that we are going to get a season 2, but I would also love it if he wouldn't be the spotlight, but I would love it if he came in as Rex or like another clone.
Yeah.
There's so much potential there.
I hadn't even considered that. Like, I was thinking Boba Fett, but right, Rex could be in the Ahsoka series. It's like Tamura Morrison really hit the jackpot where he's like, I could play infinite characters.
Mm-hmm.
We need some clone that survived. It could be Rex, it could be Cody, it could be someone else. Like, get him on the phone. So I was thinking in the Boba Fett context, and I'm like, I think I kind of want Book of Boba Fett to just be one season. I've been saying before that I kind of thought there'd be a second, but I really do like what they said with the character in his book. And I definitely think he'll appear in the Mandalorian shows moving forward, but I don't know how much else they can or want to say about Boba Fett specifically.
Yeah, I've said from the beginning that I would prefer that this was just a one season thing. And yeah, they could definitely have him pop up in other seasons of other shows. So I would prefer that the story kind of be over for just that show, but I could also see them making another season.
Yeah, it could go either way.
Robert Miller wants to know if Star Wars has overplayed killing and resurrecting characters.
I mean, I obviously have my thoughts about this.
It is a hot topic.
Shared them many times. And I definitely do think that, if you kill a character, they should stay dead. I am right now of the opinion that, like, Cad Bane should stay dead. But I do think they've at least laid some groundwork, some evidence to where if they decide he's not, then it'll feel a little more natural than bringing back, like, Darth Maul or Palpatine.
Mm-hmm. If they continue to do this, I'm going to call that Star Wars is becoming a little too soap opera-y for me. Because, like, it's frustrating to get someone's full story arc, or what we think is a full story arc, and then they pop back up just for whatever reason, like, oh, it would be cool if they came back, and then they just kind of wave their hand about how or why.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Star Wars has been a soap opera or space opera since The Empire Strikes Back and the secret I am your father reveal, and then also Leia is your sister, and also I built C-3PO, and like there have been those twists for decades now. I also am accepting of the fact that Star Wars is a mythology, and these characters represent archetypes, so yeah, sometimes they want the archetype to come back, and it's like, do we create a new character for this specific archetype, like the same basic character, or do we just find a way to bring them back? And, it always kind of makes me go like, when they do it, but it works just as often as it doesn't.
I mean, Star Wars is a money-making franchise, first and foremost, and sure, we want to see new characters and new storylines and stuff, but, as a company, they have to be a little bit careful about, like, oh, do we do something brand new? Are people going to like it? Is it going to bomb? If they bring Luke Skywalker into something, automatic ratings are sky high and everybody loves it. Yeah. So they see that and they're like, well, what if we brought this person back who's really popular already with people?
Yeah, that's all valid, but I also do get frustrated when it's like clearly business decisions are now the driving force behind the art of storytelling, and that gets to be a little bit like, I don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a valid point.
Yeah, if they can work the story, work it into the story well enough, then it's fine. I don't mind.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it over and over, but Darth Maul is like the perfect example of, you definitely killed this dude. You shouldn't bring him back.
Cut him right now.
But then you brought him back and it was pretty awesome. So it can work.
Yeah. Tom Strand asks what we thought of the Rings of Power trailer. So taking a little tangent away from Star Wars.
I only watched it once. We watched it once. And I thought it had some cool imagery in it. I am so not familiar with the Second Age. So I don't really know what I was looking at, but I liked the imagery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really too early to tell. The trailer itself looked great. I think for my preferences, it looked a little too heavy on the CGI, but I think that's just their way of being like, look how amazing this season is going to be, and like, this is what we spent that $400+ million on.
You did say something like it looked a little more like The Hobbit than it looked like Lord of the Rings, and I would agree with that. I also have to point out that it's not supposed to quite fit in with Peter Jackson's adaptations, but it's like they're skirting a line to make it as close as they can. It is very strange in that regard.
My heart wants to see just like never-ending hills of the Shire that's shot in, real life in New Zealand, and I realize that like they're telling a much different story now. But yeah, I'm excited to learn more about the characters. Honestly, the still images that I've seen got me more excited than the trailer did.
Yeah, a little easier to study. And like, we just haven't taken the time to like go shot by shot for Lord of the Rings. But I'm looking forward to learning the story of the Second Age. And I've read the Silmarillion, but I just could not tell you what happened in it for the most part, because it reads like a history book. It was kind of tough for me to get through, but I'm like, I do want to watch this. Mm-hmm. And we are planning on bringing back Explain It to Me over on our other channel for it. Like, we made that show strictly because we wanted to do Explain It to Me with Ashton for Lord of the Rings, because he knows everything about Lord of the Rings and the Silmarillion and all that.
On to YouTube questions. Function7 and Andre Moreira both ask if Cobb Vanth could become a Ranger of the New Republic.
I could see that. I like that idea that he, has protected Tatooine, and maybe he buys into this idea that it's not just Tatooine, but it's other planets in the Outer Rim that we have to protect. Just kind of like Freetown learned that it doesn't matter if that's a city folk problem. It's going to affect us. It's very Phantom Menace, like the Naboo and the Gungans, they form a symbiont circle, and what happens to one will affect the other. And that's true on a galactic scale as well. So I would love to see Cobb Vanth, go into other planets, kicking doors in.
I'm not sold on the idea that he knows how to follow rules from, the official government of Star Wars. Sure. He had that line. I was like, I'm the one tells people what to do around here. And like, I think he likes the small town life, but it really depends on what happens with him going forward and what kind of robot enhancements he may or may not have.
I totally agree with you, but I think that would make for some good character exploration of, someone who, I'm the one that tells people what to do. I don't want to be told what to do, but a leader learning to follow. Mm-hmm. I think that makes for interesting storytelling. I'm just, hoping to see him get an even bigger role moving forward.
Yeah, I think aside from him joining the New Republic to be a ranger, I could see going forward him kind of like helping take care of not just Freetown, but all of Mos Eisley and Mos Espa, just like having a bigger job just on Tatooine.
Sure.
Boba Fett wants to know how Valance would react to hearing that Boba Fett has become a hero.
So Valance is a character from the comics largely. He was introduced back in the old Marvel comics from the 70s and 80s, and they brought him back for the Bounty Hunters comics now. And they've had some run-ins. Like, he and Boba Fett do not get along at all. They've tried to kill each other a handful of times. And the last time that we know they saw each other, Boba Fett put a bomb on him and, like, blew him up. But he's mostly a cyborg, so he survived. I think that Valance would be cool with that news. I think he would even be happy about it and would, like, forgive Boba Fett, because Valance, he used to be a stormtrooper, and he regrets everything that he did as part of the Empire. So I kind of feel like he would be happy that Boba Fett also found some redemption.
But he's still a bounty hunter.
Valance? Mm-hmm. As far as we know. He's a bounty hunter in between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi at this moment.
This feels like, to me, like when you're in middle school and you're like part of the punk emo kid friend group, and then you move on to high school, and then all of a sudden, like, one of your little punk emo friends becomes a football player and like dates a cheerleader, and you're like, okay,
is Boba Fett the
nerd,
football player here?
I guess. It's like, he left the life of bounty hunting to become this hero of this town, and I could see Valance and like all the other bounty hunters being like, okay, we'll see how long this lasts, or just being like, ugh, what a dork.
Yeah, no, you'll be back. I don't know. Valance is the kind of guy who he's a bounty hunter, but he seems to hate himself quite a bit. So
most emo kids do.
So I think he would probably be happy that one of them got out.
Andrew Desco asks how we would feel if it were confirmed that Max Rebo was a mole for the Pike Syndicate and had a hand in bombing the sanctuary.
I think it would make me like him even more.
That hurts my feelings. He would never.
No, I don't think he did. But if they made that a storyline, I think I would like it. Just because, I said a couple weeks ago that, Max Rebo is a bit of a joke character, and then everyone got mad at me and said, you're a joke. And I want to make it clear, I love Max Rebo. I collect all of his merch. I think he's awesome. But he's a blue elephant piano player. Like, that's the extent of his character. So getting to see that he was like diabolical and helping the Pikes, I'm like, all right, that gives you a little bit more, gives him a third dimension instead of just being a one-dimensional character.
You know what else could give him a third dimension? I refuse to believe that he's like working for any of the bad guys. I'm going to say that for the last episode, he went to Freetown and was taking care of the orphanage that's there and like doing his civic duty.
He was playing the piano to make sure the kids were entertained.
Yeah. He's like the performer that goes to hospitals.
Yeah. Well, I like now, because Freetown is kind of like that Western town. So he could have gone there, and they have, instead of a red ball organ, they have like one of the old timey Western pianos, and he's playing one of those with a little bowler hat on.
Daniel Raffles wants to know what we thought of the execution of the flashbacks in the Book of Boba Fett, and if we want to see that story style continue in future series.
I thought the flashbacks were fine. I think the structure of the Book of Boba Fett was a little bit odd, but for the most part, the flashbacks in the present day, I think, were telling some parallel stories. But I wanted to bring this question in because we have been talking about how so many films, or not films, but series, shows, have been using this flash forward, flashback structure all of a sudden, not just in Star Wars, but like Yellow Jackets and Station 11 on HBO. And we just started all of these series, and I was like, every one of these stories is doing the flashback, flash forward thing, and I think it's odd.
Yeah, I mean, in the context of Star Wars, I was excited to see the idea of flashbacks coming in, because we'll probably see it in Kenobi, hopefully like flashbacks of the Clone Wars stuff, and it's just a cool way to give us a glimpse at stuff that, for characters that we know and love, and like just show a little bit of what we may think may or may not happened in the past. But it's fairly new for Star Wars, and I like it. Yeah,
like flashbacks just did not happen until Rogue One, and even that was like kind of dream-like. Jyn was dreaming, and that's when the flashbacks happened. Kind of like Boba Fett, but not as long. And then The Last Jedi had a couple flashbacks. The Rise of Skywalker had a couple quick ones. So yeah, it's like Star Wars didn't dabble in flashbacks for a while. And I am expecting flashbacks in Kenobi, so it feels like they're doing a lot. As long as it's not every Star Wars story we get doing flash forward, flashback storytelling, it's fine. Like, I don't think Andor is going to do that. Bad Batch isn't going to do that. So yeah, I'm okay with it. I think that Boba Fett maybe leaned on it a little too much, but overall I enjoyed it.
I can't remember where we heard this, but I read somewhere, maybe it was you, that one of the reasons why people think that a lot of storytelling these days are going backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards is because ever since the pandemic happened, people want a sense of comfort knowing what happens in the future of a story compared to what's happening in the present or the past. And I thought that was really interesting.
That's what I said. I did say that.
Okay.
We were just talking. I think it was about Station 11, because Station 11 is a pandemic story that flashes forward, and it's not like a terrible hellscape. So I was like, yeah, it does kind of feel like we're in the midst of this pandemic. Let's flash forward 20 years and just show that, like, everything can work out. I wouldn't say everything worked out in Station 11. Most of the planet died, but it's like happiness still exists.
Yeah, and it gives the viewer like a sense of excitement to find out what happened in between those 2 points of the story.
Mm-hmm. That's all the time we have for questions today. If you want to leave a question for next week's video, just put it in the comments below or sign up for Patreon to join our weekly Q&A discussion. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
And as always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.